What's up, guys? Justin, I'm gonna give you guys an update for my 6 weeks out from my first physique show. Most of you guys know that I did weightlifting and powerlifting and CrossFit and MMA, and I've competed in all those things, never competed in physique. So it's my first go around at this, and I thought, why not just vlog it? So if you guys haven't checked out my previous videos, 8 weeks out, 7 weeks out, bodybuilding with a broken back, definitely go do that if it's the first time you've been watching the videos here. We're going to do something a little bit different this week, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'm going to give you guys some tips specifically on training, and then just give you an update of what's going on in my life, getting ready for this show, and what it's like to prep for your first show. Anyways, let's go straight in the update. 6 weeks out, diet's starting to change a little bit. Honestly, I'm fairly lean right now, so I'm still taking in a lot of calories. Actually taking in more carbs this week than last week. If you guys watch the first videos, you know that I hurt myself and I wasn't able to train. Well, actually, let me back that up. If you guys watch the first couple videos, you should already know that I am training this entire thing, this entire competition with a broken back. I've had a broken back for about 8 years or so. I actually plan on going to the doctor and get some x-rays to show you guys exactly what we're talking about before, and I'm hoping that it helps some of you guys realize that there's really not a whole lot of excuses to do something. Like, can I compete in weightlifting or powerlifting? No, I can't do that at a high level anymore. But that doesn't mean I can't do something. And that's exactly why I'm doing this. So a lot of people ask, Justin, why are you doing bodybuilding? Well, first of all, I'm not really doing bodybuilding, I'm doing physique. Tried bodybuilding for a little bit, got up to like 250, just was miserable, didn't feel healthy. It's just not where my body wanted to be. I feel like this is a little bit better decision for me. So that's why, giving me something to do competitively. I have to compete. I've got this weird thing. I'm screwed up in the head. I have to be competitive. I have to do something. I have to have some kind of goal, just to really push me and motivate me. A lot of you guys are probably like that too. So if you're questioning, what should I do, or I'm having trouble losing weight, if you guys, really simple, basic, advice, you know, find a goal, something that's important to you, not something that you do because, you know, somebody else wants you to, or you feel like you need to. I've done that a lot in the past. I wrote a blog about a long time ago, me doing the whole regionals thing for CrossFit because I was running a CrossFit gym, so I felt like that's what I had to do. When in reality, though I loved CrossFit and still do love CrossFit, I didn't want to be I didn't want to live the life to compete at that level. I just didn't feel like, I felt like it took a lot of time away from my life, and it took enjoyment out of my life, which is definitely not how you want to set your goals, right? You want to be able to live your life, which was kind of the idea behind the whole lift and let live moniker that we're working under now. So anyways, 6 weeks out, diet changes. Hopefully I didn't get off on too much of a rant. Had a free meal the other day. Had something to drink. Had a couple cocktails. We went to a concert. Saw Seven Dust for the 20-year anniversary show. Great show. Had some drinks. Didn't get drunk. Just like 2 cocktails. But when you don't drink, you notice the next day big time. I had a really, really crappy arm workout the following day, which is kind of what prompted me to make this video and to talk about this, because for physique, for me, my arms are tiny. I was never worried about working my arms because you don't really need huge arms in weightlifting or powerlifting or CrossFit or even MMA. But what you do need is strength in them. So as a matter of fact, getting them too big can kind of be a bad thing for mobility wise in some of those sports. So didn't really work them. They were always bigger than most people's naturally. So I say most people's, so silly. they were large for somebody my size. I never had small arms, so I just didn't worry about it. And physique is completely different. I need to get my arms as big as the side of my body, basically. So that's something that we got to work on, and we know how to do it. We just haven't done it before. So I'm gonna kind of tell you guys my plan and what I've been doing and what's been working for me, and I've gotten really, really good results. Next thing is posing. I posted a video up on Instagram of me posing this week. I have no no skill or no background in posing whatsoever. Never done it before. Literally just watched videos on YouTube of people posing in the physique division and trying to figure it out myself. I'm going to be working with a coach hopefully this week or next week to fine tune that. It's so important. Even if you have a better physique on stage than your competitors, if you don't know how to present that physique, then you're gonna lose. So it's all about posing. I think I don't think it's silly. It feels silly when you do it. Whenever something is required for a sport or for something that you're doing, it's definitely not silly. Let's get into the meat of what I want to do today. I want to talk about growing your biceps and your triceps, your arms. I've had a lot of success with the plan that I put together, and I'm going to give it to you guys, and hopefully you guys can implement it. Maybe it'll help you out. First of all, my arms weren't tiny to begin with. They were slightly under 16 inches when I started in, say, January, and they're about right around 18 inches right now. So I put on about 2 inches in about 3 months, which is, in my opinion, is really good. I didn't have tiny arms to begin with. And by the way, that's both flexed without a pump. So if you guys have questions as to the difference of that, it's a big difference. The pump that you get is, you could grow 2 inches in your arms with just a pump alone. So whenever you measure it, you definitely want to measure kind of at the same thing, in the morning. And with all your measurements, really, you want to do it in the morning. Or just at the same time of day, make sure that your food's the same and all that kind of stuff. You definitely don't want to measure one day right after arm day and then wake up the following week and do it first thing in the morning. You're going to be pretty upset. So, but yeah, so let's talk about, I want to talk about contraction first. So the contraction of the muscle is the most important thing, simply because if you can't get your muscle to contract, you're not going to be able to grow it. The problem with most people is they put a lot of weight on the bar, they do the movements, they go through the movements, and this is for every muscle group, but they don't actually think about the contraction of the muscle that they're trying to grow. And if you're doing powerlifting or bodybuilding, if you're doing powerlifting or weightlifting or CrossFit or something like that, then it's not as important because you are worried about the movement and the rep, and as long as your form looks good, the muscles firing aren't the most important thing. However, I will say that if you're doing a deadlift and your hamstrings aren't engaging, you're not going to be able to be as strong in the deadlift as you possibly could if you did get them to engage. But we're talking about bodybuilding, so let's go into that. If you can't make a bicep, or if you can't do a double bicep or something like that, and make your bicep contract just that muscle by flexing, then it doesn't matter what weight's on the bar or what type of movement you're doing. You're not going to get the contraction. You're not going to grow. And the same way with the triceps. If you can't make your tricep get hard relatively on its own, then working it out, what you're probably doing is just the movement and not thinking about it. So you need to focus on that first. What most people need to do is to drop down the weight to some really insignificant weight, or even just practice just flexing the muscle itself with no weight and making sure that you can contract that muscle. Why can't you contract the muscle, or what might be stopping you from contracting the muscle? Well, we have to remember that it's the mind that is controlling the muscle, right? So you might not actually have that mind-muscle connection for whatever reason. You just don't use it. It could be an injury is oftentimes the issue. If you have a shoulder injury, for instance, I have a labrum tear on my front, so it's a slap tear, and that the labrum attaches from our collarbone and goes down to our bicep muscle. I never got that repaired, so my left delt in the front is a little bit overdeveloped compared to my right. Because of that, my bicep doesn't contract properly on this side, so I have to work extra hard at doing that. The same way with my tricep on my right side. My rear delt is overdeveloped because I have a rear labrum tear. So my tricep has trouble contracting. So these are things that I have to constantly think about. I can't just go through these movements. I have to really think about contracting that muscle. So it takes me a little bit longer to warm these things up than maybe somebody without the injury. So think about that first when you're going to do this. It's about the contraction. You're wasting your time in the gym if your goal is to gain size in the muscle, I should say. You're never wasting your time in the gym as long as you're not hurting yourself. If you want to do bicep curls to get better at doing bicep curls, and just be able to do more weight because that's something that you want to do, then by all means, go do that. But that's not what this video is about. So contraction, super important. Next, we want to talk about recovery. And recovery is a couple different things. Nutrition, first and foremost. And then the frequency at which you train. So like how often, how long are you giving your muscles to recover? You can train smaller muscle groups a little bit more frequent than you do larger muscle groups like biceps, as opposed to like say legs or something like that. It takes less days, but we have to think about the total amount of volume that we're doing throughout the whole week. So when you're creating a program, or if your coach is creating a program, that's what they're going to be thinking about, is the total volume throughout the week. I won't get too much more into that. If you guys have more questions on that, you can always ask me. Obviously, I do training programs. That's how I'm afforded to be able to make these videos for you guys. So if you got any questions, or if you want help with training and nutrition, definitely hit me up. The nutrition side of it is we need to make sure that we have nutrients in those muscles when we're training, so we can train hard, and immediately afterwards. So pre and post workout shakes, I think, I don't know if they're understated, but they're definitely important. Let's talk about exactly what I do for the biceps and the triceps right now. Right now, I am working my biceps 3 times a week, and I'm working my triceps 2 times a week. And a lot of you guys might, some people might be like, well, why are you only doing triceps twice? It's a bigger muscle, blah, blah, blah. I already push for chest and shoulders, which there's going to be triceps involved. I only pull for back, which is where the biceps are involved. So realistically, my secondary muscle group on those days would have a tricep in it, right? So I'm only hitting that twice because I want to make sure that I have enough time to recover so I can push myself in those other movements, because the shoulders and the chest are very, very important as well. The shoulders, especially for physique. So what I'll do is I'll pick a day for biceps, and I'll pick a heavy day relative to the other days. What that means is going to be different for everybody, but it just means I'm going to be pushing a little bit more weight, maybe doing straight bar curls, a little bit lower reps, and typically on those days I'll be somewhere between 6 to maybe 5 to 8 sets or something like that, probably six-ish sets for that day. And then the next day would be my volume day, where I would hit upwards of 12 sets for biceps. And then I would have an intensity day where I'm going to make sure that my rest is very, very short. And by the way, when I say rest short, typically I rest 90 seconds, maybe even 2 minutes, depending on how heavy it is for me to be able to recover. On intensity days, I'm going to be resting a lot less. I'd like to do a lot of EMOMs, since I did come from the CrossFit world. I think those are a really easy way to gain that intensity. If you do a set of, let's say, tricep push downs of 15 every minute on the minute, it's going to take you between 20 to 30 seconds to do them. You're going to have about 30 seconds rest. And the intensity even is pretty high there. And if you do that for 7 to 10 sets, that means that your volume is fairly high as well. So that's a good way to get your volume and intensity in there. And speaking of volume intensity, so that's what I do 3 times a week for biceps. And then a secondary technically would be on back day when I'm pulling. And then for triceps, I do 2 times a week. So I actually hit once heavy, which would have the heavier compound movement like a close grip bench in there, and then the second time, I'm going to introduce volume and intensity in the same workout. So I always try and do those drop sets and make sure I get a lot of work and make sure there's a lot of less rest in there. So I'm trying to incorporate both of those things into one day, and then obviously they get the secondary muscle for when I'm doing pressing on chest and on shoulders. So hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit and gave you some answers as far as like training structure. I didn't break down the sets and reps exactly for everybody on purpose, because everybody's going to be different. You have to make sure that you start where you need to start at, and you slowly work your way up. It's all about adding volume adding work, constantly doing a little bit more, and then recovering from it. So if you're not doing that, if you just go really hard, you're going to end up hurt yourself if you haven't earned the right to do so. As always, if you guys have any questions, comments that you want to get at me, do it in the comment section below or message me at liftandletlivefit@gmail.com. You can get all of our content on our website, liftandletlivefit.com. Let me know how I did. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below, and we'll catch you next week. What's up, guys? We're here at LA Fitness in Town Lake, Georgia. We got Godfather Dave Gotti. We got Big Mike. We're doing some arms on a Saturday, and we're gonna get going. We're gonna start with some supersets.
I'm gonna take my shirt off later.